It's like slipping on the sidewalk, right?
Yeah.
You can have the most beautiful great day.
Right.
And the next second you're on your ass swiping snow off your shoes and your elbow hurts and you're checking your body for broken bones. It's like that detour is such a blunt instrument. And I'm just wondering, for you as you've pivoted during these times where either you had challenges, has there been a particular source for you that has kept you bumped back onto the path of knowing more than when it became unknown?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think the kind of knowing that I have learned to lean into is the knowing that comes more from the body, from experience. And the people who most illustrate that for me are the mystics and the artists. Mystics being, somewhat the rebels of all spiritual traditions who had these radical experiences of oneness with the divine God, whatever the term may be. But they have these experiences and then they translate them out to the public in a way that makes you realize we have that capacity all along for these kind of transcendent encounters. And it's not for the purpose of transcendence. It's not so you can bliss out in a cave and be like, I found it. I found peace with all, it's so that you can then be a force of creativity and love and change the world that we live in. There's a philosopher that I'm not a massive fan of, but his name's Ken Wilber, and he talks about the fact that it only takes 10% of a population shifting in consciousness for the whole to shift. And so I think of those mystics, those artists, those, as the revolutionary force at the edge of the 10%, trying to encourage humanity onward. So in my own life, when I slip and fall on my ass, and I think for so many of us who have experienced this past year as that, the great halting of all of our plans, a giant reminder of our fragility as human beings, of our interdependence, of how much we need each other, and months and months and months for many of us in isolation. I think it's learning how to become more comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's been my practice. Because when I can get into that space, I can trust that what's happening is an ever-becoming, unfolding story. It never ends here.
Right.
Just like I'm not going to limit you by your story ending at a certain point because it's still unfolding. I can trust that my story is unfolding too. So the belief systems that can move dynamically with you in that way, I think are helpful gifts.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not one of those people who thinks you should throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to religion or faith traditions. I think there are profound gifts to humanity in each of them. But to mine them, to find those that actually inspire you to become a better human, and to leave the institutional orthodoxy that is trying to imprison you into, a former culture, or an unhelpful body view or view of all bodies.
Sure.
I think that shit, we gotta grow out of that.
The Full Exposure Podcast is brought to you by Metro Health, University of Michigan Health, and Dr. Peter Hahn, in appreciation of the creative and artistic visionaries who enrich our lives through cultural connections.